Fox News Alert. Moments ago, we received this together. We received a statement from the DHS regarding the $59 million sent from FEMA to New York City migrants last week. Quote, 4 employees being fired today for circumventing leadership and unilaterally making the egregious payment for hotels for migrants in New York City.
So while the Democrats keep demonstrating in front of buildings and talking about that DOGE is an enemy, it's a crisis to our Constitution, they want to talk about DOGE. They want to talk about Elon Musk. They want to talk about Trump empowering these people to do what they're doing, to actually go in and what? Perform an audit? Show us where the money's going? Show us exactly what they're doing that they were never authorized, nor it was intended for them to be able to do? So in other words, the Democrats are upset with what DOGE is exposing. They're not actually upset at the corruption that's being exposed. Point noted.
Let's get ready to rumble! You can't handle the truth. Somebody with a job of the line.
Hi, I'm Pastor Marty. Welcome to the Afternoon Drive. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel, and once you are, smack the bell, click the word all. That will give you notification of my rants, my ravings, my undeniably flawless reasonings. Please like and share this video. It's the only way that we get the word out that we're here. Thank you so much for watching and being a part of the Afternoon Drive. So as certain members within the Democratic Party and the mainstream media continue to try to look for ways to discredit Trump with their talking points of constitutional crisis. This is the beginning of dictatorship. He's shutting down branches of government. No, what he's done is he's appointed some people to go in and look at the books. Did he shut down USAID? Yes. Does he want to shut down the Department of Education? Yes. You have noticed that our test scores every year go down. When the Department of Education was launched in 1977, I was a kid in grammar school. Jimmy Carter was the president, and on top of giving away the Panama Canal, he dreamed up the Department of Education. And since he put that in place, we have continually gone down to the point, even liberal Democrats ask, what is the point of the Department of Education? Other than the fact they roll out some indoctrination points every few years, it isn't actually helping our students, considering that more than half of the 8th graders in this nation can't read. And the independent schools, the private schools, the charter schools, Christian schools, parochial schools, they're all doing well. And they're not under the Department of Education. So people have begun to logically ask the question, why do we need the Department of Education? But see, the Democrats on Capitol Hill, it never enters their mind that spending can be cut anywhere. And this idea that, you listen to them talk and you would think that their flatulence didn't stink, that every time, they open their mouth and they defecate, marble comes out. That somehow these institutions wouldn't do anything wrong with all the money they're entrusted with, that they're never actually giving an account for what they're doing with it. All Donald Trump has done is turn DOGE loose in there to find out and report back to the American people, here is what your money is being spent on. And the Democrats have had how many years to do this themselves, and now they admit it. They got nothing.
I appreciate the question, Kevin, but I'm trying to figure out what leverage we actually have. What leverage do we have? Republicans have repeatedly lectured America. They control the House, the Senate, and the presidency. It's their government. What leverage do we have? We are going to try to find bipartisan common ground on any issue. We'll work with anyone in this town to get things done for the American people, to lower the high cost of living, secure the border, and keep our communities safe.
Hakeem Jeffries, the Walmart Obama and supposed leader of the Democratic Party, he's like the singer who, well, let's put it this way, a person who wants to be a singer, who knows the lyrics, but they don't know the melody, and they really can't sing. That's Hakeem Jeffries, the wannabe leader of the House of Representatives. You know, but he finally, in a rare moment of authentic honesty, says, "What do you want me to do?" This was at a press gathering where they said, "What are you going to do to stop Donald Trump?" He said, "What do you want me to do?" He's got the mandate. He's got the House. He's got the Senate. He's been voted in. What do you expect me to leverage? I got nothing. Well, you have got Greta.
How dare you?
Remember her? So while the Democrats are screaming, Elon Musk running through all of these departments within the government, and he's only got like 19-year-olds working with him. We can't trust these 19-year-olds. How long ago was it they wanted us to trust her, a 13-year-old school dropout, with our climate change policy? I can remember reading an article where Greta gets around the world to all of these conferences by a solar-powered yacht. That was the phrase he used in the article. Like, solar-powered yacht? You mean a sailboat? You know, these people, it's all about RI, not AI, RI, reversed improvement. What do you mean by reversed improvement? Well, it's kind of like they promise you things are going to get better and they don't. Like every time there's an update done to your phone and everything is not where it's supposed to be, and you're like, what am I supposed to do now? Or every time they update Facebook or any other social media platform, and it takes you to get used to it and figure out why they've done this, and features that you did like are gone and features you don't even use are now there. And then when you finally get used to that setup, they do it again. All just so they can prove they can. And it doesn't actually improve your life. It was like when Obama gutted the space program because he wanted to have super fast trains all over the country. Do super fast trains get you to other planets? No. But hey, with the technology and the vision of the 19th century, the train, Obama was setting his sights big. It's like, listen to these people talk about, I live in a tiny house. No, you're living in a shack, a shed. And there's a certain amount of libloonism that this is how we're saving the planet. You don't need a big house. You do know that all the people that propose all of this climate change bullhock live in mansions? You know, Al Gore, Leonardo DiCaprio. These guys live in mansions that have enough air conditioning units to empower small factories. Their carbon footprint is more than 25 people combined, yet they're going to lecture you and me about climate change. Okay. And see, the American people, they've just had enough of it. And CNN, in a shock poll, can't believe that the people actually support what Donald Trump is doing.
We begin today with our first assessment of how President Trump and his policies are doing just 3 weeks into his second term. Our CBS poll finds that a majority of Americans, 53%, approve of the job he's doing. That's a better approval number than he ever reached during his first term in the White House. Joining us with more is our Executive Director of Elections and Surveys, Anthony Salvanto. Good to see you, Anthony. What's driving this?
I will keep it simple, Margaret. He is doing, in the eyes of the public, what he said he would do in the campaign. There's political value in that. In fact, 70% of people say he's doing what he promised. That's whether they approve of him or not. Now, there's another part of this that continues over from the campaign. There were words that he was described as being tough, being energetic, and he still is today in big majority numbers. So as people take a look in these first few weeks, there's been a lot of activity. They're getting that general sense of governance, and that's being reflected in these early numbers.
You've heard over the last week or so, the Democrats, their new talking point is the American people did not vote for Elon Musk. Actually, we kind of did. See, here's the problem. They never really listened to the Trump supporters, why we supported him, and what we were voting for. They just assumed. The narrative going into the election was that we were homophobic, misogynist, sexist, racist, and we just wanted Trump back in there. Then after they got an absolute butt kicking on election night, because they didn't really think they were going to lose, and when they lost bigly and found out that every demographic broke for Trump, young black men broke for Trump, women broke for Trump, even among older women, they didn't vote with their vagina and abortion, they voted with their head. Then the Democrats had to take a step back and say, okay, we hear you. It's about lowering costs and securing the border. It was more than immigration and the border, though that's a biggie. It was more than the cost of living, though that's a biggie. It was everything. We were tired of being preached at. We were tired of being censored. We were tiring of all the wokeism. We were tiring of being told that because we looked at certain things and said, this is not normal. Guys pretending to be girls to play female sports, and that somehow we had to apologize for believing that way. The American people were saying, by and large, we don't want this crap anymore. And Donald Trump has come in and he's rolling it back. And he made it clear the last couple months of the election that he was forming this group called DOGE, and that Elon Musk and at one time Vivek Ramaswamy were going to head this up, and they were going to figure out if our tax dollars were being wasted, where they were being wasted, and how we might redirect them to things that actually benefit the American people, which would bring the cost of living down. So we did know what we were voting for when we voted for Donald Trump.
Yeah, so, CBS News, YouGov came out with a poll earlier today that had him on the positive side of the ledger, and I decided to average all the polls. And you know what? The average of the polls also has him on the positive side of the ledger. All right, let's take a look. Trump's net approval rating on February 9th. Look at this. In 2025, he's at plus 4 points. Look where he was in 2017, his first term at this point. He was at minus 5 points, so he's doing nearly 10 points better on the average. And more than that, as I mentioned, it's not just the CBS News poll. It's the Ipsos poll. It's the Gallup poll. It's the Pew poll. All of these polls have him in better shape than those respective polls had him at this point back in 2017. So the bottom line is, no matter where you look, Donald Trump is more popular than he was 8 years ago at this point.
That is pretty incredible to compare those two. So break this down then. Why, do you have any idea why more Americans are approving of his job, of the way he's doing his job this time around?
Yeah, of course, Donald Trump won the 2016 election. He won the 2024 election. But when you went into his first term, there were a lot of folks who simply put did not think that Donald Trump was doing what he promised. Back in April of 2017, it was just 46%. Compare that to 70% so far.
And 70% of Americans believe that Donald Trump is doing just what he said. But Hakeem Jeffries apparently got taken to the woodshed for actually implying we don't have any power to stop him. And he was basically told to get out on that House floor. And if he wants to stay in charge of the party, he better get out there and fire the troops up and say, we have got to oppose Donald Trump and this agenda, despite the fact that 60% of the Americans want this agenda. You got to get out there and you got to discredit it, and you better make sure that you rally the troops for a fight we can't win.
To address the Republican bait and switch that has been taking place throughout the 119th Congress. The Republican bait and switch has three elements. Part one, talk about lowering the high cost of living, but do nothing about it. Part two, enact massive tax cuts for billionaires and wealthy corporations that will do nothing to improve the quality of life of everyday Americans. Part three, stick working class Americans with the bill for those massive tax cuts for billionaires and wealthy corporations by destroying Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid as we know it. House Democrats want nothing to do with the Republican bait and switch.
Sell crazy someplace else. We're all stocked up here.
Bait and switch? But no bait and switch. Again, because the cost of eggs haven't come down in the first 3 weeks Donald Trump was in office. Somehow he lied. No, have you seen what he's done with the border? You know why news outlets aren't reporting daily now on the surge at the border? Because there isn't one. It's gone away. We put 10,000 troops there. Mexico put 10,000 troops there. And shazam, Batman, it's virtually dried up to nothing. We're putting illegals on planes and sending them back. California radio stations are losing their FCC licenses for broadcasting to the illegals there where the next ICE raid is going to be. And then that was traced back to coming from the FBI. Let's get Kash Patel in there, get him in there, get him in there, get him in there. But you got Kristi Noem saying, okay, we got people in the FBI that are leaking out the movements of ICE. We're going to ferret these people out. And I would say, let's have an old-fashioned court-martial for treason. Stop rooting out people and then letting them just, at that point, retire with full benefits. Bullhock. Bullhock. The real bait and switch has been the Democratic Party, and the American people know that. Every time there's an election year, Ronald Reagan said it right, a giant costume party happens at the Democratic Party. They put on these masks and they pretend to be in the middle or just a bit to the right. Then after the election is over, they take the mask off and they shift left and they go off into lunacy land. And it isn't like the Democrats go left on how it helps the working man. They go right on doing everything they can to crack down on the working man, you and I having our rights and being able to speak. They start mandating the medications that we will take or we will lose our jobs over it. We will do this. We will like it. And then they shoved all of that woke hogwash down our throats. They are the party of bait and switch. So when Hakeem Jeffries, the Walmart Obama, talks about bait and switch, the reason he can talk about it so fluidly, it's the Democratic Party. What he can't wrap his head around is that the American people voted for exactly what's happening. We knew what Donald Trump was going to do. Why? Because Donald Trump was everywhere on all the social media platforms, circumvented the out-of-date broadcast media. And think about it, where Donald Trump goes now, whether it's a UFC fight or the Super Bowl, he gets rock star treatment. Why is that? Because the American people love him and we voted for this. Do you get it yet, Hakeem?